Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Hi Jason, I'm wondering if doing 3 sets of pendlay rows 5 days a week would be valuable for someone with crummy upper back and lat development from only doing pull-ups. That's a good question. So let's talk about this. I'm going to say you should probably do a combination of rows and face pulls. And we don't need to call them pendlay rows. We could just call them rows, right? Because it's not a bent over row. It's a pendlay row. Traditional rows done off the floor. So 5 days a week? No, I don't say no 3 sets 5 days a week. There's no reason for you to have that type of frequency on a hypertrophy type exercise. That's just excessive. Let's say 4. Let's say you do a standard 4-day upper lower, which is pretty much what most strength and conditioning coaches have people do. It's how these run conjugate, everything else. Why don't you build work capacity first? Cut out all of your pull-ups for now and do 5 sets. Okay? Do 5 sets 4 days a week. And that sounds excessive. 20 sets is a lot. Here's the thing. You need to build your work capacity in that area. This is what I do with clients who have a major upper back weak link. It will teach you the movement pattern. You'll get a ton of volume in. You'll get a ton of work in. You will start adapting very, very quickly. Okay. Then I would cut it down to 4 sets. Okay. Cut it down to 4 sets. So maybe do a 3-week phase. Right? Do a 3-week phase. 20 sets. If it's still not catching up quickly enough, maybe do a second 3-week phase. You can run it for 6 weeks. Then cut it down to 4 sets so you can start increasing weight more quickly. Okay. Make sure you're adding in like some band face pulls, band pull aparts, other stuff for the rear delts. Then after another phase of that, hopefully your upper back is caught up enough that if you want to add pull-ups or chin lifts back in, you can. Cut it down to 3 sets. So we're now doing only 12 sets a week of these, and then you can gradually start working your pull-ups back in on your upper body days. Okay, this is how I would approach it. I mean, the 5-day a week now, look, this is the sort of nonsense that people come, well, we just need to train this every day. Look, unless it's restoration type work, there's no reason to be hitting the same movement 5 days a week. We're not really resistance training more than 4. And I get it, we will train abs or rear delts or whatever. GBP, almost every day. But that's different. That's conditioning and restoration. Your actual hypertrophy work, no, limited to 4 days. And even then, stuff like back you can get away with upper lower because it's kind of an accessory for both if it's rows. Okay. And eventually you may get to a point to where you're down to doing the rows only 2 days a week. It depends on how much back you need. Depending on what I'm doing with phases, do them either 2 or 4. Same thing with clients, depending on what they need. A lot of my clients, my more novice and intermediate clients, we just row 4 days a week. Do on upper and lower days. It's across the board. A lot of my guys, I don't want them doing less than 12 sets of rows because they need the upper back. But that's how I would approach it. All right, next question. Open grip, aka suicide grip, aka moron grip. I can bench more weight. I'm smart enough not to grind reps with it, and I feel like it raises my focus. All that said, is it a bad idea? Okay. I want you to think this through for a moment. There's no benefit to this. I want to make that very, very, very clear. How is it raising your focus? To not have your hand wrapped completely around the bar, if anything, it reduces your focus. You can squeeze a bar tighter if you get a nice, solid, firm grip all the way around that barbell. You are stronger on lifts when we squeeze the holy hell out of the bar. I'm going to go so far as to say is there should be no exercise you are doing, with a few exceptions, some very, very few exceptions, stuff like maybe a lateral raise is actually a benefit to a looser grip. Most of your lifts, you need to be squeezing the holy hell out of the bar. Okay. Okay? You need to be squeezing that bar like it is a snake trying to bite your child and you're trying to pinch its head off. Like life and death of your children, not just for yourself, like a life and death of your child at stake level squeezing. Every exercise, you need to crush the bar. You're going to be able to crush it more with your thumb over. There is no benefit at all to you doing this. The only benefit is that if you're a dumb person, you have a higher chance of hurting yourself and maybe removing yourself from the gene pool. Okay, outside of that, there's no benefit to the suicide grip. Don't call it the open grip. Call it by the term that everyone calls it. It is called a suicide grip. That is the slang term for it because that's what everyone knows it as. It's basically the moron grip. No, you can't focus more. What? Focus more by having less grip on the bar? Well, you have your wrist cocked further back? What are you going to do with that? You're going to hurt your shoulders more? Get your hand around the bar and squeeze it. There's no excuse for this nonsense. None. You're just going to get hurt and you're going to be weaker. I don't care that there's a couple of guys out in the history of the world who do it. Every one of them have been beat by someone else. Therefore, they're not number one. Okay? Every person you've ever seen who's really strong doing it, someone else benches more than they do. What does that tell you? Well, clearly, they're not even number one in the world doesn't do it. There's a tiny handful of really strong guys who do it. Doesn't make it a good idea. Does not make it a good idea. Get your hand around the bar. All right, next question and last question of the week. Can novices run your new style of conjugate with percentages like you're currently doing, or would you rather them run the original style of conjugate, 2 max effort days and 2 dynamic effort days? I would rather them do the speed work. All right, most lifters do not have a good grounding in speed work. They don't know how to do compensatory acceleration. It will teach them. Now, that being said, do I have clients and lifters who struggle to do speed work? Yes. I do have lifters, including novice lifters, who no matter how much speed work I have them do, no matter how much instruction I give them, they look like they're hitting a 1 rep max with 60%. Right? Their weights move so slow that 60% of their max, it takes them like 2 seconds to finish the rep. And I mean the concentric. They just don't grasp the concept. In that case, I might take them over to pure percentages. That doesn't mean that we do a double max, though. I don't think a novice lifter needs to do more than about two maxes every week, right? Let's just stick with 1 press and 1 lower body max. They could do 5s. They could do 5s in place of the speed work. With percentages, do 5s at 80%. That's more reasonable. I wouldn't recommend what I'm doing for them. They either need to be doing speed work or they need to be doing repetition work on that other day. What I'm doing is for someone who already has built an enormous base, right? Look at what my lifts are. I already have built an enormous base. I've already done tons and tons of speed work. I'm, again, coming in and doing a lot of maxes. I'm maxing out on 8 lifts every week. Double max effort days at double the frequency. No, I wouldn't recommend that at all. I don't think they're going to benefit from it. They don't need the benefit of that much extra intramuscular coordination and neuromuscular efficiency. They'll do just fine maxing on a couple lifts a week. Now, could they run percentages? Absolutely. Those percentages would be really, really useful for the novice. If they needed to do it that way, if they need to run percentages for the second day, sure, because if they can get three sets of 5 at 80%, but then they can get more than 5 reps on that 3rd set, they're ready to PR on that lift. They can go back and test it again. Okay, I think it's a real good method for them if they need to, if they can't do speed work. If they can't do speed work. But realistically, I think a lot of novice lifters, when you run them into a basic conjugate, no, they need to just run the basic program. They need to run the basic system with a couple of supplemental lifts. I think they'll do just fine, and that's what I would generally recommend. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.